My genius brother, he will have all the answers.
Enola.
Where's your hat and your gloves?
Well, I have a hat, just makes my head itch. And I have no gloves.
My God.
A wild woman brought up a wild child who will make her acceptable for society.
She seems intelligent.
There are two paths you can take, Enola. Yours, or the path others choose for you.
It is time to find my mother. The game is afoot.
I saw this film as well.
You did?
I saw it, Dustin. I didn't want to tell you.
I did not know this.
Bing!
Oh, it's a surprise to me. Happy birthday. Enola Holmes is a movie, and it was like number 1 on Netflix for quite a while. It's probably still in their top 10.
I'll double check.
But it stars Millie Bobby Brown as Sherlock Holmes and Mycroft Holmes' baby sister. Enola is raised by her mother, Eudora Holmes, mostly after the death of her father, or presumed death maybe, and after Mycroft and Sherlock were grown and moved away. So Enola is raised by mom and raised to be smart and fierce and a warrior, and you're telling me it's currently at number 6.
Number 6. It's fallen to number 6 due to a bunch of other recent Netflix releases like Ratchet and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So number 6, not bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so Eudora raises Enola to be a tough woman, and then one day Eudora goes missing, and so Enola now has to deal with finding her and escaping her older brother Mycroft, who wants to put her in a boarding school for young girls, and essentially take away all her freedoms and agency, and so she has to fight against this and find her mother, and she ends up finding actually another mystery, and so she gets embroiled in a couple different mysteries, and all the while Sherlock is ever on her tail.
Yes.
So that's Enola Holmes. I before we get into it, since you saw it, what's your star rating on this?
I gave it a 3.
Okay. Yeah, I gave it 3.
Yeah. I think I didn't think of it as high as a 3 when I saw it, because it was what I expected. It was just a very light, very, in a way though, kind of just quirky story that takes place in a familiar IP, even though in Enola Holmes there is a book series that these are all based on. So there is some sort of existing text for it. I gave it a 3 because I was like, you know what? This is for kids. This isn't for people like me who loves Sherlock, and I love very serious mysteries. And I love character exploration, like in the BBC Sherlock, with this person who I dangerously identify with emotionally, and with humor, but not with breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience and giving all these exposition. Enola Holmes is not for my sensibilities, but I'm not the target audience.
Sure.
And I think the whole time I was just like, I just want to see Sherlock Holmes do stuff, and no offense to Enola or any of this, but it became clear pretty quickly, like this is not what I'm looking for in a story, and I need to make sure I realize that.
Yeah. No, I would mostly agree. I mean, there's a point where you start to wonder why Sherlock isn't taking the center stage here, and it's the same thing if you watch like anything that's sort of about a sidekick or like a younger version of a hero. Like if you watch, I don't know if anybody listening dares to watch Supergirl or Batwoman or any of those kind of things where it's like, yeah, but where's Superman and where's Batman? And I don't even mean that in like a men do it better kind of way. I just mean it in like, those are the characters that we've for so long followed and for so long, like we're used to their presence in Gotham and in Metropolis or whatever. And so anytime you have something that kind of takes place around them, you run the risk as a writer. Like I wouldn't want this challenge because as a writer, I wouldn't want to have to juggle how do I make Enola smart and capable and not make Sherlock seem like an idiot?
Yeah.
Like that's the juggle. Like, and I wouldn't want that task to say, like, I have to still make Sherlock smart and he has to be the smartest person in the room, even smarter than Enola. But Enola is my protagonist. So how do I make her one up him every time?
Yeah.
That's not a challenge that I would want to take. And it's the same with, Supergirl. Dustin, would you write an episode of Supergirl? Yeah, probably. But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, how do you write a story that doesn't degrade the other characters at the expense of this character?
Yeah.
That's a challenge that as a writer, I don't think I'm up for. But having said that, yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's one of those stories. Like I think I heard it best explained like this. This is like those old movies that were made in the 80s and in the 90s for kids and like adventure stories that they don't really make anymore. And it's kind of a shame because, like, we grew up on some good, adventure stories for kids.
Yeah.
And they don't make them much anymore. I mean, something like this is, I'm not comparing this, but like The Sandlot, like I still love The Sandlot, but like that's a movie that doesn't get made now.
Right.
It's just an adventure movie about kids doing kid stuff and,
Growing up.
And growing up. And like, you don't see that anymore. And so I have missed that.
Yeah.
And so Enola kind of hit that spot a little bit, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is a different interpretation of Holmes, of Sherlock and Mycroft, in yet another disappointing link in the Henry Cavill chain. He's given a super famous role and given absolutely nothing to do with it.
I know.
And at a point I just feel bad for him because I'm like, man, like he could be so good at a lot of things. They just never give him a script. Like, I don't know if he's picking the wrong things or if he's just like blinded like I would be, like, oh, I can play Sherlock. Yeah, sure. I'm not even going to read the script, whatever.
Maybe he hates himself.
I don't deserve to talk.
It's why he's taking all these roles.
Yeah.
Penance.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, it was fine, but at the end of the day, it's not anything phenomenal, and I'll probably never watch it again, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
And
what if they make more?
I might. I would have to hear about it first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I like Millie Bobby Brown.
I do too. She does really well.
But like, yeah, but so that's the draw of this for anyone who is on the fence about watching it. Like, she's obviously, terrific.
Yeah.
I have a problem with, there's a couple things, if I were to nitpick and really look for good things, I'll explain to my wife, like there's a fight sequence with her and this guy that's pursuing her. It's like, I was like, I appreciate that I never saw her like do anything that was physically not possible in terms of her stature and her upper body strength, which is a big mistake that a lot of female driven action films make, is you have these women like lifting and throwing these big dudes. It's like, it's not realistic, unless those women are Gina Carano or the other tall Lisa Leslie. I don't know.
Sure.
And, but like, so that they made sure to keep her things like intellectually based, like not so much, not even strategic physical. It's like, she's not a martial artist. She's just a clever person who's trying to escape this guy. And so I appreciated that they didn't take any like stupid action liberties with that. But even then I was like, yeah, but I kind of want more intrigue out of a Holmes story. And it was mostly just her talking to the camera. Like it felt kind of weird, I guess. And I wasn't in a mystery with her. It was like, yeah, where is she? It's like, well, my mother always said this. And then we have this information dump, which is like, this is a bunch of information that we didn't have as the audience, which is what you always say about mysteries and things like that, is you need to put this stuff in front of us. And even the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes is guilty of doing that,
Yeah, I mean, that's one reason that the BBC Sherlock has been as popular as it has been.
It's so good. It's popular because it's great. It's so
great.
good.
They give the audience a fair opportunity for most of the episodes, a fair opportunity to solve the mystery along with Sherlock, while still like visualizing what's happening in his mind. And they do some of that here, which is nice. The device where she talks to the camera initially really annoyed me. Because it felt really anachronistic to me. Like because you're drawing attention to a camera that doesn't exist in the time period that the movie is set in. And also it just doesn't fit like tonally. Like it's anachronistic in that you wouldn't usually see this type of filmmaking in this type of period piece.
Correct. I agree 100%.
So it feels more like something you'd see in like a 90s rom-com, right? Where like it's a young girl at school and she looks at the camera and says, "Now look at this nerd."
No one understands me.
Yeah, and it's like some nerd with like broken glasses or whatever. Like that's how it would be in the 90s.
Those are the first two things we can come up with, Dustin, of what was a high school girl thinking, and one of them is look at this nerd, and the other is nobody understands me. That's what we think happens.
Accurate, but I mean, I'm not going to say we hit the nail on the head, but we hit the nail on the head. And yeah, I don't know. It just feels weird, but like it grew on me, and I guess at least it was consistent that it did it. Like it would have been a lot worse if it was like really inconsistent. Like for instance, I also just recently watched Mulan, the live action one, and the voiceover in that film is the worst thing ever because it happens like 3 times in the film.
Oh, from her dad.
Yeah, it's her dad, and it's like. The first time it's like, who is saying any of this? And then the second time it's like, is this a memory or is he just narrating the story?
And the third time it's legitimately like, I'm still here. You thought I was gone, but I'm still watching with you.
Right. And I'm like, this is really dumb. And so it's not consistent enough to be a device. It's like just inconsistent enough to be like,
it's a crutch.
I don't know, we need some exposition, throw it in there. And so at least this was consistent, and at least it did that throughout the film. So I'll give it that, but it does feel anachronistic to me. I don't know if you want to go into spoilers on this, but I will say this in terms of, so at the end of the film, there's essentially 2 mysteries that are running parallel to one another. And so it's sort of like Enola trying to solve both of them, but getting distracted by one over the other. And then what weirdly happens is at the end, one of these mysteries is kind of just not solved, but just kind of dropped in her lap in a weird way. And that really bothered me. And I think it makes for a really unsatisfying ending because you've built this thing up for her to be like a master sleuth, and then for her to just be given an answer, even though it doesn't answer everything, for it not to be like of her own doing. Really, it feels really unsatisfying to me.
You're referring to the apartment.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. I felt the same way. I felt like, oh, well, geez, that was a lot of hard work for all you had to do is go home and there's the answer.
Well, because it's not tied to her development as a character.
No.
It's just like dumped in her lap because I guess as a reward for doing the other, but like some sort of weird cosmic reward. But
yeah, it's like an allegorical reward. Like you've put the time in, you've actually in a way, like you've developed as a person. So now the answers shall come to you. But it's like, but these answers are in the form of like solving this mystery by just going back to where you were staying these past couple days.
Right. But like that would never have happened in a Conan Doyle story. Like Sherlock would never just like come home and the answer just be there and he'd be like, that's it.
Good thing I had to poop.
Right. With a Conan Doyle story, like it would have ended with like, okay, the the person shows up in the apartment, cool. But also Sherlock has one last twist for the audience because he figured this out pages ago and enacted some secret thing.
Yeah.
And then it becomes clever again. But even then, it's like you gotta tie it to development. You have to tie it to their hard work as like a culmination of their own skill. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say. I mean, it's well performed. Like I said, I wish Henry Cavill had more to do. And I miss. So Sam Claflin plays Mycroft Holmes. He does not hold a candle to Mycroft on the BBC's Sherlock, who I think is played by Mark Gatiss. Is that correct?
Mark Gatiss. He's so good on the show.
He's so good and slimy and like so good.
He's such a bastard.
He is. Like you just want to hate him.
Yeah.
But like Helena Bonham Carter does a good job here. You know, there's a couple more Harry Potter faces. But they all do fine. But at the end of the day, it just seemed like filler, and maybe it's foundation, and the sequel will be better. Should there be a sequel, but we'll see. I mean, yeah, 3 stars. It's fine. Again, I won't watch it again, but I don't regret having watched it.
I might.